Chapter 41. Sunk Cost. Once everything was set, the group departed for Longshore in the not tank 6 had hired. The thing was a beast, stupidly heavy armor plating covering the entirety of it, with internal hollow projectors instead of windows to prevent creating exploitable vulnerabilities. 6 wheels, each made of some conglomeration of rubber and other materials which made them so damage-resistant that you'd have better luck stabbing a spoon through carbon steel. Not to mention the fact that they were filled with some radon-based gas instead of regular compressed air, radon being hundreds of times heavier than most other gases. There were actually only 4 seats available despite how large the truck looked, not to mention the lack of any steering wheel or other controls. The AI systems would handle all the driving and shooting. Everyone inside was literally just cargo. They reached their destination fairly quickly, though. Ori and Rebecca had to park the vehicle a good distance away to raise the enemy's alarm. While no one would be able to recognize what make it was, the thing being so heavily modified that even its original manufacturer would scratch their head at it, that didn't make it any less intimidating. Regardless, they were left car-watching alone while 6 snuck around the place looking for the best area to approach from. This, of course, didn't sit well with Ori's companion. How long have we got left? Rebecca groans, her legs resting up on the back of the seat in front of her as she rests in what looked like the most uncomfortable posture imaginable. Still got an hour till sundown. Ori idly remarks for the nth time today. He'd already chewed down the nails on each of his fingers in sheer anxiousness for the battle ahead. Rebecca had tried teasing him for the first 30 minutes of their wait, but quickly got bored of his lacking responses. How about we play I Spy Dash? She starts with a drawl, but Ori interrupts her with a refusal.
No. Small.
I get you're nervous, but all you're doing right now is psyching yourself out. Don't get in your own head, she advises. He responds with a grim, loose smile. Only you would call thinking a bad thing. I'm worried about Max, he reluctantly admits. Well duh, you'd be an asshole if you weren't. But acting like a pussy now means you'll fight like a pussy later. Raises your chin, square your shoulders, and get ready to fuck these gonks in their asses, she exclaims, obviously attempting to cheer him up. I get that, just 'cause I wanna though doesn't just make it happen. He looks at his slightly trembling hand, wondering if he should just bear with it and let the nanites handle it. Let's get your mind off of it then, she pauses before her expression brightens. Why don't you tell me how you zeroed us? That shit was so dope you had me cheering for you, she states with a big grin. Why? You already saw the recording, didn't you? Yeah, but that only showed like the last half of the fight. I want to know what was up before you got your ass kicked out of the apartment. I guess it started with my gonk fixer dash. I'm in position. 6 abruptly states over their comms, interrupting the story Rebecca was giving, but she didn't seem all that bothered, instead excitedly hopping in her seat and grabbing her weapons. Finally, let's go fuck shit up. Remember the plan. Bring the vehicle into position. 6 grouses, tone more severe than Ori had ever heard from him before. Got it. Ori acknowledges, far calmer now thanks to Rebecca's stop being a fucking pussy talk. The AI-controlled vehicle starts up and begins moving towards the warehouse, but doesn't stop anywhere, simply driving around a randomized route that kept them relatively close to the area. It was tense, waiting for 6 to either say something through the comms or for gunfire to start instead. I'm in. Security is tight. Tag 20 scavs in the main warehouse house alone. 6 states, allowing Ori to look down at the laptop to see their approximate locations. Rebecca herself had MK.3 Kiroshis, so all that information was automatically provided to her. She could even see their locations through walls if she wished, something that had Ori wanting a pair of those of his own. Have you set the charges? Ori questions. 3 on pillars integral for structure integrity, all marked. He states, the laptop pinging with their location. The duo watches 6 representation slowly sneaks through the place, eventually reaching the basement where he tags something. Found him. Is he alright? Ori tentatively asks, not liking the Merc's tone at all. Max did not have any cyberware for them to take, so they extracted his organs. 6 reports, sending them a picture. It revealed Max's sorry state, barely floating in a crimson-stained bathtub filled with ice. His torso had been awkwardly stitched back up, showing signs of surgery. That wasn't the worst, however. His eyes were missing, along with his arms and legs. His head had been scalped presumably to transplant his hair on someone else. Even his nose and ears had been removed, likely to act as replacements for people who'd lost their own but couldn't afford cybernetic ones. The only reason Ori could recognize him at all was because of the familiar scars on his face. Fucking animals. Rebecca growls through the comms. Is he still alive? Ori hoarsely questions. They hadn't thrown his body out yet, so they must have had further uses for him, right? If they could get him out now, then they could replace everything he'd lost with cybernetics, right? 6 goes silent for a couple seconds, before quietly responding. He's a shell. They took his heart and everything else. Ori grinds his teeth almost painfully, gripping his fists tight enough that the nanites were forced to heal the muscles he was unconsciously straining. Marv. That fuck did to Max what he'd done to his dad. He'd fucking kill them. Leave him, 6. This ain't a rescue anymore. We're gonna fucking exterminate those rats. We'll tear them apart and carry Max back through whatever slop is left of them. He growls as he trembles, not in fear like last time, but in sheer rage at what they'd done. Affirmative. Chapter 42, Powwow. The vehicle abruptly switches from its path, drifting around a corner before doing a U-turn directly towards the warehouse. The scavs and mercenaries patrolling the area quickly notice this, but only realize the severity of the situation when a panel on the roof of the truck opens up, revealing a heavy-duty turret. A laser flashes from it and points directly at one of the men's foreheads, causing his breath to hitch as his friends shout for him to move. Shocked by the suddenness of it all, he's unable to take a single step as the turret opens fire.
Bang, 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 bang.
The man's body explodes into blood and viscera as his comrades throw themselves behind cover, or to the ground if there isn't any nearby. Unfortunately for them, the AI targeting systems didn't register mercy. Shit. We're getting attacked. We're under at a dash. Crash. The vehicle smashes through the wire fencing surrounding the courtyard of the warehouse, inadvertently crushing 2 unfortunate mercenaries who'd attempted to hide behind some concrete barricades. They died quickly, bodies crushed to mulch, resembling half-empty toothpaste as the truck turns their cover to dust and rubble. Bullets collide with its armored plating but do literally nothing, not even giving it scratches as the scavs unload their weapons at it. The turret quickly whizzes around, downing any enemy in sight, particularly targeting those currently shooting at it. It drifts along in the courtyard, kicking up dirt and stone before abruptly stopping. Its doors shoot open upwards like wings, allowing Rebecca to jump out with a pink and white assault rifle in hand. A few scavs dare to peek their heads out of cover while the vehicle's turret was busy elsewhere, but before they can take a potshot at the short-stack volley of bullets find them. Haha, come on, is that all you got? Rebecca laughs as she adds to the carnage occurring around her. Her targeting systems allowing her to easily lock onto the enemies 6 tagged earlier, rendering them just large humanoid targets in her eyes. Ori had hopped out the other side of the vehicle with Max's spare LMG in hand. He hoists the heavy weapon up and unleashes an uncontrolled burst toward the front door of the warehouse after 3 men had ducked inside. Even with his shoddy aiming, his bullets rip through the door and the ill-maintained wall, utterly annihilating them and anything behind it, including the 3 unfortunate men. Stop hiding, Marv. I'm gonna skin you alive, you fucking piece of shit, he roars. He continues to hold the trigger down, dragging it across the building towards some scavs who thought it was a good idea to try blind firing at him. Stupid. The aluminium crates they were hiding behind acted as little more than toilet paper, disintegrating under his weapon's continued onslaught. Ori spots the barrel of a gun poking from behind the corner of a raised catwalk. He shifts slightly but,
Bang.
Still ends up taking a bullet. It hits his shoulder and shreds a good portion of the muscle. His nanites rapidly get to work repairing it, but it'd probably take a while. He grunts as he gets hit but bears with it, spraying another volley at the sniper. Ori growls as he misses everything however. The kick of the weapon combined with its weight, his fucked-up shoulder, and his low shooting skill made it almost impossible to hit them. Fuck it, nanites, help me hit this gone cunt, he utters under his breath. Executing request. Flesh administrator. Instantly, as if he'd gained a sixth sense, he twists the barrel a couple inches to the side and fires a single shot. It hits the wall directly next to the sniper who panics in response and tries to flee, but doesn't get far as his bullet nails him in the temple. Ori glances to the side at Rebecca who'd walked around his side of vehicle, grinning manically as she fires off quick bursts at the now cowering mercenaries. Most of them who'd been in the courtyard had already been flatlined, and what remained were those 2 scared to move from their hiding places. How's the sitch inside, 6? Ori asks over the comms. Basement clear. Moving up? Come on, Ori. We're gonna miss all the fun. Rebecca prompts, running over to the last hiding mercs and jumping atop their cover. She blasts one in the face, causing his head to explode in a shower of gore, but ends up running out of ammo as she tries to kill the second. The sound of her gun clicking seems to encourage the last guy, but Rebecca just rips out her magazine and throws it at his face. His aim gets disrupted and he ends up firing at the sky, allowing Ori to drop him with a bullet to the back of his head. Haha, did you see that? That bozo really thought he had a chance. She laughs as she clicks in another magazine. Yeah, almost killed you. Ori remarks, baffled at her recklessness. She sniffs at him, hopping off of the box and onto one of the mercs' corpses. Hey, I had that handled. Courtyard cleared, moving in. Ori reports to 6. They approach the utterly ruined front entrance, which may have well just been open to the outside with how many holes had been punched into it. Rebecca pushes her eyes next to one to see inside, but falls backwards as the occupants inside begin randomly firing. They both back away, cautious of any lucky shots. Give me Marv, and I'll let you bastards go. Ori shouts at them, not intending to let any of them go regardless of what they do. Fuck OFF, someone shouts from inside.
No.
Fuck you. Rebecca insults back, ducking low to the ground as they fire more shots at her general direction. Let's kill this guys already, she complains to Ori. Way ahead of you, he responds, unclipping some grenades from the belt Six had given him. He tosses some to Rebecca, who grins wildly in response. Keep him away from 6 charges. On 3, 1, 2 dash. Ori starts counting, but Rebecca moves early, throwing 2 grenades through one of the higher windows, causing the occupants of the place to begin shouting and panicking. See how you guys like this? Letting out an exasperated sigh, he throws his own as well before ducking and preparing for the blast. Boom. Chapter 43. Marvin. Marv stares at the camera feed with a deep scowl on his face, the sound of gunfire occurring not far from his current position. Some fucking truck had just crashed through his HQ's fence and started blowing his guys away. Sure, he'd prepared for something like this ever since that Tiger Claw bitch said someone was looking for his crew, but he hadn't expected anything like this. Was it because of what they did to that guy from yesterday? He glances over to the single netrunner he'd managed to employ, though that was only because their reputation was hot shit compared to anyone else. Get Brick's guys down here before these assholes decide to blow the place up, he hurriedly orders, wanting their Maelstrom allies to take the brunt of this. Can't. Whoever they are, put a jammer up, the netrunner reports, eyes squeezed closed in concentration as they work as fast as possible. Shit. Well, they must have heard the shootout going on in their backyard already. We just gotta hold them off. Who are these fucks anyway? No idea. Probably just some dash. Their attention is grabbed by the monitors as 2 people step from the AI-controlled tank. Their faces were obscured, of course. Software prevents them from viewing it over the net, but for Marv it wasn't hard to tell who it was. Stop hiding, Marv. I'm gonna skin you alive, you fucking piece of shit. Yeah, he remembered that voice all right. Who knew that kid was still kicking? He should have put a bullet in his brain while he was down. He shakes his head. Whatever. It's just 2 kids. Those guys outside were just the meat shields. He pulls out his comms. All of you, get your shit together and fortify the cargo area. Stop those fucks from getting in while Maelstrom arrives. Boss, our guys in the basement got flatlined, the netrunner reports. There's only one entrance into it. Just barricade the stairs and have some guys ready to unload into it. All right. Marv turns back to the feed just as the last of his guys outside were zeroed, the tank combined with the 2 kids' firepower easily overwhelming them. Give me Marv, and I'll let you bastards go, the kid, Ori, shouts, only to get cussed out by Marv's men. Fat chance of them listening if they wanted to anyway. Most of his men had chips in the back of their necks that would detonate at his command. Why buy loyalty when you can buy bombs? After all, he looks to his right-hand man, Galen, who was standing at the door. Go, kill that little shit Ori, and make sure he knows who sent you. The large man nods, his braids bobbing with him. He holds up a hand and clenches his fist, revealing the mean metal spikes that protrude from his gorilla arms. Got it. Boom. He scowls as the ground rumbles. Grenades going off within the warehouse, no doubt. Do it now before they collapse the entire place. Boom. A large portion of the warehouse wall explodes outwards into the courtyard as the grenades explode. Sounds of panicking and dying wails could be heard through the dust and smoke. But Ori ignores all that. He sends a nod to Rebecca and hops over his concrete barricade and makes his way inside. The dim lights within the warehouse illuminated a couple of standing figures, but just as he could see them, they could see him too. He throws himself to the side, behind a small shipping container, but not before taking 2 bullets to the side. One perilously close to his intestines, likely grazing them, and one next to there, a flesh wound presumably. He stifles his pained grimace and sits there with keen focus. The enemies were targeting him, unknowing, allowing Rebecca to set up on the other side of the room from him.
Marco.
Rebecca shouts with a laugh as she begins firing. Ori grins to himself as the enemy turns their attention to her, allowing him to get a good look at the place. It was as most warehouses usually looked, with a few aisles of metal shelves lining the place, most empty, with stairs at the far back leading to a catwalk and some second-floor rooms. In the corner under the stairs were some leading to the basement, where Six was currently judging by the 5 guys all aiming down at the stairs with determined expressions. Closer to Ori's position were small truck-sized shipping containers placed sporadically around the place, allowing the scavs to enter cover or change their positions rapidly. He'd have liked to just throw a grenade their way, but next to them was a pillar that Six had planted an explosive charge on. Polo, he shouts, firing at 2 guys who'd unintentionally exposed themselves in an attempt to get a better line of fire at Rebecca. He draws a line of bullets in one, from his thigh, chest, and eventually neck. The other guy throws themselves to the ground in an attempt to avoid the worst of it, but Ori just lays into him as if he were a sandbag. He was soon forced back into cover by the others. but not before shredding the guy enough that his internal organs were hanging out of his like moist and chunky Christmas tinsel. Ha ha ha, come on. Come dash, Rebecca cackles, but is interrupted as a bullet whizzes past and rakes a line across her face, revealing the subdermal armor cyberware underneath her pale skin. Ouch! That freaking hurt you ass holes! She angrily shouts after recovering her composure, tossing her assault rifle to the side and retrieving a large shotgun from the bag on her back. I'm getting serious now.
Ah?
A shotty at that RA dash. One scav shouts back mockingly, but loses the top half of his head as Rebecca fires a shot off. Not to mention, a large part of a metal shelf behind him began collapsing from the rest of the birdshot-like shell. Ori, you tiny insect. Marv wants you dead, and that's what's gonna happen. Get ready to join your pathetic family. A large man suddenly shouts as he steps out of a room on the second floor. Ori scowls. So you do remember me? Good. He growls back and is about to open fire on the man when something catches his eye. Six had just appeared beside the man with his revolver pointed at his head. Chapter 44. Metal meets metal. Huh. Galen utters as his synaptic accelerator fires full force. He'd noticed Ori's attention shift, and his other cyberware was alerting him to danger. He throws his head back just as an almost point-blank shot fires past his face. His ears rang as the back of his head strikes the wall behind him, leaving a dent as he pulls himself out and stands off against the suddenly appearing man. Six growls at the missed shot, unloading the rest of his shots at the man by fanning his hammer. Galen raises an arm in front of his face, taking most of the bullets while a couple more hit him in the neck. They blow out some of the flesh there, but his extensive cyberware allows him to weather most of the damage. You're dead, he roars and charges as Six unholsters his gun. Raising his hands in a boxer's stance, Galen throws two rapid swipes that any regular human would barely be able to follow. The spikes protruding out of his knuckles punch holes clear through the metal railing and concrete pillar as he hits them, but Six easily weaves through all of this. He dodges an uppercut before finally throwing an attack of his own. Six fist connects with Galen's stomach, the pneumatic system in his arm causing his hand to shoot forward a couple inches, enhancing his attack with explosive force. Crack. Galen coughs as both combatants feel a few of his ribs break under the attack. He just grins viciously in response, however, ignoring the damage and sending out another combo. Six dodges most but takes a punch on his chest. A loud ding, ringing out as metal collides with metal. Galen's hand actually gets stuck in place. The spikes in his knuckles caught in place as if they were welded. Galen tries to pull back, but Six doesn't allow him, instead bringing his forearm straight up under the man's elbow. Crack. Galen roars out in pain as his arm bends the wrong way, hyperextending the point it might as well be folded completely around, parallel with his tricep. You mother FUCPFFGT. Six breaks the guy's nose before bringing his foot straight down on his knee, crippling that too and forcing the guy to kneel on the floor. Galen tries to look up and glare at his opponent, but doesn't the chance. Bang bang bang. Six shoves the barrel of his other revolver into the man's mouth and fires under his spine's vertebrae are visible from behind. With that done, his form flickers and vanishes again, leaving the few of Marv's men who'd been watching baffled and shitting themselves with fear. Ori and Rebecca hadn't put everything on hold while Six was fighting. With that momentary distraction, Ori had rushed forwards while unfortunately taking a bullet to the lung. Ignoring the taste of blood, he skids to a halt and flies around the shipping container, blowing the arm of the guy who'd shot him completely off. The guy falls to the ground and tries to hold his remaining arm up in surrender, but Ori just offs him with a bullet to the eye, continuing on. With Rebecca going crazy, and Ori now behind the enemy's cover, it was all too easy to spray down what remained of them. The guys who'd been guarding the stairs to the basement had tried to support them but ended up getting offed all the same. Everyone here is down. Ori reports over the comms as he steps over to Rebecca. Your target is through the door the Merc had arrived from. Six states. Ori nods but begins letting out hard, hacking coughs, prompting Rebecca to forcefully pat him on the back. You all right there? He lets out one last cough, ending up spitting a bloody bullet out into his hand, the one that had presumably penetrated a lung. He glances at Rebecca, who was just staring down at it with an odd expression. Look, I can expel dash. Fucking Nova. Bro, you just spat lead. I thought that was just a saying people used, she exclaims with a laugh. You've got to teach me that after all this. Or is it some cool new cyberware or something? Catching bullet in your mouth? I gotta get that installed. He shakes his head. Let's just finish this, he states, ignoring her excitement and making his way upstairs. Hey, you can't just leave me hanging like that, she chirps as she follows him. That douchebag on Marv, or whatever isn't as important as this. Ori pauses his stride and turns to her, raising a hand to her face and resting it near her jaw as his thumb trails the silver line on her cheek where her subdermal armor was now visible. You're the one with the cool cyberware. Let me know where to get some of my own after this, Kay? He says while inspecting the wound closely, knowing that if he took a bullet to the face like she had, he'd be quite dead. She quickly slaps his hand away and turns to the side, sneering despite the dusting of red on her pale cheeks. Why, you're the only weirdo around that asks a girl what's under her skin instead of her clothes. His mind blanks momentarily at her accusation, only now realizing how his actions could have been misconstrued. He recovers though, tilting his head at her. Weren't you just the one asking to show you what I can do with my mouth? She bares her teeth at him. Do you want a dash? We haven't got time for this. 6 angrily growls over the comms, interrupting the duo's byplay. Ori walks past the still bristly Rebecca and soon reaches the stairs. He kicks open the door and spots 6 standing in the hallway next to another, both revolvers at the ready. Targets inside. Right? Ori mutters while hefting up the LMG. Let's make this the worst and last day of that fucker's life. Just shoot him and get it over with, no point wasting. Your time on trash? Rebecca adds, taking up position behind Ori.
No.
This shit's personal. Chapter 45, Warehouse Raid. Ori kicks open the door and 6 steps inside, ready to take the brunt of whatever defenses Marv had set up. Strangely, when they step in they see a communications room, with monitors on the wall with camera feeds, a regular office desk, and 2 people sitting in chairs facing the door. Marv. Ori growls at the man on the left who was sitting nonchalantly with his legs folded, as if he wasn't about to get shot by 3 angry mercs. The guy didn't even blink as 6, Ori, and Rebecca pointed their guns at his face. Ori, how's the family? He smiles kindly back, holding his arms at chest height and showing his empty hands. Fuck you. He angrily spits in response. Marv tilts his head, language. What would your parents think? He questions smugly. Are you insane? You do realize how close you are to getting domed, right? You creepy-looking asshole. Rebecca states a scowl after cocking her shotgun, pushing out an unfired shell to add further intimidation. Marv acknowledges her with a shrug. Yeah, so? Dying ain't that bad. Or so my priest tells me. Guy probably doesn't realize where I'm going if there is an afterlife. Besides, I doubt I'll get another chance to mock you ragtag dickheads. He glances at 6. That buddy of yours kept his mouth shut, even after we tore out his tongue. Be proud he only started screaming when we get below the belt. Motherfucker. Ori grinds his teeth while noting 6's hand, visibly trembling in rage as he holds his gun. I ain't gonna kill you. I'm gonna strap you down in that fucking basement and harvest you like you did to Max. Marv chuckles. How are you gonna do that? You're running out of time, he states, his eyes minutely twitching to the person sitting still at his side. The others had ignored him until now, not seeing the nerdy, weaponless guy as a threat, not more than Marv at least. They were wrong, however, which they realized as soon as their vision started crackling.
Elle n'est trunée.
6 rasps, attempting to aim his revolver at the man when his arms fall limply, his cyberware failing him. Rebecca was having a similar reaction, her colorful shotgun falling to the ground as she grips her head and lets out a pained shout. The only cyberware Ori had was his interface, which most people had, but unlike last time with Sasha, the Nanites had worked out a countermeasure against this sort of assault. His distorting vision instantly cleared up as the Nanites disconnected the interface from his brain, allowing him to spot Marv drawing a pistol from behind his back. Ori raises the LMG to fire at him, but receives a couple bullets to his arm, causing him to drop it. Another bullet hits his leg, forcing him to kneel. HM? You broke through the demon? Weird kid. Marv remarks as he aims the gun at Ori's head. Say hi to your daddy for me.
Bang.
Thud. Bong. Marv looks down at his hand, or what used to his hand. He looks back up at Ori, who was lying on the ground with Rebecca's shotgun, a deep gouge running along the side of his head, above his ear. It takes a couple seconds for everyone to register what had just happened, until finally, phew you arg. Marv lets out an agonized yell as he falls backwards, tipping over his chair as blood squirts from his mangled forearm. The Netrunner's eyes widen as Ori turns his attention to him. He stands and holds his arms up pleadingly. Hold on, wait. Bong. The shotgun lets out a second blast, this one hitting the guy at center mass and almost cutting him completely in half from the force of the pellets. Some of the camera monitors behind him shatter and spark as they're hit too, sprinkling the Netrunner's corpse with embers as it falls beside the whimpering Marv. With him dead, 6 and Rebecca are released from the hack, both slumping slightly as they attempt to recover from the ordeal, breathing hard breaths. Ori slowly gets up as the wounds on his arm and legs slowly heal with help from the Nanites. His arm was still bleeding, but the worst damage hadn't even come from Marv. His entire arm had been dislocated from shooting Rebecca's shotgun and was now hanging limply. He ignores the screaming Marv and glances at the pale chibi. The fuck is wrong with that thing? He points at the gun with his still working arm. You swap out the gunpowder with C4 or something? Rebecca gives him a subdued grin, still reeling from the hack-induced migraine. And not my fault you can't handle it. You'd need my cyberware to not break using it. She lets out a long breath and tiredly shoos him with her hand. Now deal with the screamer. You were saying about harvesting him, she ventures. Ori nods, turning his attention to Marv. He limps over the shattered remnants of the guy's pistol and stands over him. The Skav glares up, stifling his pained whimpers in some attempt to retain his pride. Laugh it up, kid. Sometime soon, you're gonna find yourself in the exact same position. People like us, we're all going to the same place. He grits out through the pain. I don't know about that. Does hell accept package deals? 'Cause I'm sending you there in pieces. He harshly states before attempting to apply a tourniquet to Marv's arm. He couldn't have him bleeding out so soon, only to pause when the man starts chuckling, which quickly devolves into full-blown laughter. Ha ha ha. I told you, kid. You're running out of time. Ori, 6, and Rebecca turn to the cameras as the sound of engines reaches them. A whole fucking fleet of vehicles had just parked outside the warehouse courtyard, all printed with Maelstrom tags. Oh shit. What are they doing? Rebecca questions as 3 people get out of the lead car, one pushing 2 emaciated, heavily modded men forwards. You ever wondered what happened to those people we kidnapped? Marv quietly asks with a shit-eating grin on his face. Those 2 out there might be the last of your fam.